Hello and welcome to another episode of Somato Enlightenment. And again, today, talking a little bit more about anger and resentment and how you hold that in your body and where it's stored. Kind of a recap of the week so far. We've talked about, obviously, fascia, I talk about every week. Fascia is that stuff that covers your entire body from head to toe. That covers every muscle cell and then group of muscle cell, and then it keeps wrapping around until that builds your tendons, those things on each side that attach to the bones, that your muscles attach to your bones. And it's also the stuff that is around every organ, it's around every bone, and it's also kind of all this other connective tissue throughout your body, and it talks to each other and it works together, and its job is to basically like shape you. And so that's why we're addressing the fascia so much, is because it's what shapes you. And the things that you put into your body change the fascia and how it moves and the pliability of it, making it more constricted or pliable. And so this is the things, when I say you're consuming, the things that you're eating, the things that you're watching, the things that you're reading, kind of basically like everything, that all the sensory information that you're putting into your body affects your fascia. It affects it in different ways. It might hold you in a position if you've had some trauma, and won't really let go until you either acknowledge the trauma or have figured out how to have that work throughout your body so that you can let it go and that your fascia can move freely again, and then that part of your body moves like normal. Another thing to kind of consider is with consuming things in your body. So we're talking about your liver and gallbladder this week. So things that you need to think about, because it's going to stress those areas. Obviously, there's different kinds of fats that you can eat, and they affect your liver and your gallbladder differently. Gallbladder kind of puts out this stuff to help break down all of your the fat that kind of comes in. So if you're eating things that if you're eating a lot of fat, sometimes it has trouble getting it to produce enough to break everything down. It also sometimes, with alcohol in particular, your liver has you're stressing your liver. So that's why when you drink, sometimes you might feel a little angrier. And it's just because your body's like having to do like double work. So not only is it having to work with this anger that you're kind of repressing, or not acknowledging, or not letting it work through your body, and now it's got this extra stress of having to filter out all the stuff from the alcohol. So kind of what you're consuming affects the different organs a little bit differently. And I know that's very basic. Other people might get a little bit more particular into things, but the basic idea is that when you eat fatty foods and when you drink alcohol, and other medications, drugs, things like that, how it all has to go through your liver, and your gallbladder is there to help support those kind of things. But sometimes you're putting a lot of stress on it, and coupled with the fact that you've got other stress from other things, it's not always like the best choice to indulge in a lot of those things. As you're able to process anger and resentment a little bit better, your body's ability to process the things that you want to consume will change. So as you release the anger, and as you release the resentment and the depression and things like that, then it would be a little bit easier to handle alcohol or handle a lot of fatty foods and that kind of thing. And your body will be in a much better place to tell you when enough is enough. And knowing like what amount of alcohol or what amount of fatty foods or what amount of whatever you're consuming in your body that's stressing a specific organ, knowing when that enough is really important. Listening to your body and figuring out what needs to change or what needs to be released so that your body functions in the best way possible. Something else to kind of consider is if you're having a little bit of trouble processing the emotions, working with your counselor, working with, a craniosacral therapist or something to kind of help process things through your body in different ways. You might also try, there's also those pulse points that I was talking about, connecting to your meridians. The one for anger and resentment is actually your middle finger this is my left hand, and the second point, so if I put 3 fingers on, take 2 off, and leave my middle finger on, then this is the point that's going to help me release anger and resentment. And I just put that to my forehead, and that will help me process things through my body that are making me angry and making me resentful a little bit easier. And just notice when you're in that active state of being angry or resentful about something, bitterness, depression, that kind of thing, trying that pulse point, putting it on your forehead, seeing what happens, thinking about the things that make you stressed about those things as you're doing it will also help it process through your body. Also, again, with the intuitive movement, trying to figure out where in your body you hold something, and then you might put this on and see what happens and how that wants to release when you come back again to neutral. So kind of thinking about those things when you're moving through all this stuff. Again, it's kind of connected to your heart center, your heart chakra, and that unconditional love and for yourself and others. And it can get a little bit blocked when you're resentful and you're unhappy, feeling depressed, that kind of thing. So the more that you can move these emotions through your body and release them, the happier you're going to feel, the lighter you're going to feel, the better your body's going to function. And kind of also, if you think about the patterns that you go through, it seems to be this cycle. Every time I go to do this, this happens, and then I just get angry and resentful about it, and trying to stop the pattern and shift it in a way that is better for you. When you can change the patterns in your body, it will show through when you go to interact with people. So if you're having a really hard time, let's say with, we're all cooped up right now, so maybe there's a particular family member that you're not getting along with at the moment, and everything they do kind of really angers you and pisses you off. You might kind of channel that anger a little bit, if you will, and think about it and sit with it and just see where your body's moving, what's kind of happening, what are you noticing. Earlier in the week I've talked about noticing right through here, especially my low back, and on my right side is career, and low back is about support. So kind of thinking about where I'm holding some anger or resentment is possibly in not feeling supported in my career from different people and in different situations. And that's why I've got some anger and resentment here, and I'm just kind of noticing that I feel a lot of tension, in particular right above my hip bone, kind of in that it should be kind of soft spot right here, but mine's pretty, the muscle there, that QL muscle is kind of really taut, so I'm just noticing how when I move in different ways, how that's changing things. Again, I'm just kind of moving this way and moving my hips forward and backward and to the side and this side, just kind of finding where exactly the muscle feels the best. And when I can find that position where it feels the best, it's going to help let it go and release it. Kind of just like that. So that feels different. There's still, there's still a lot more towards my spine that is pretty taut, but out here on the side, a little bit more seems to have let go a little bit. So again, I'm just kind of feeling into these different spots on my low back, and I'm not really digging in. I'm just kind of putting my thumb there as an awareness of like, this is what I want to work in. It also kind of gives me, because my thumb is there, it also lets me kind of feel how the tissue is changing. Like, I'm noticing what happens under my thumb is that, like, I feel these contractions where I'm using the muscle, and then I'm noticing when I move in other ways, that muscle in that spot is able to relax, and noticing after that how it feels a little bit squishier. It should be a little squishy, but not too squishy, and just kind of noticing that. And so I'm kind of just letting my body again move in a way it wants to move. Feeling like if there's any more anger or resentment that I need to work on at the moment. I'm feeling pretty positive right now, so it's not really, I'm not really feeling too much more. I feel like I've been working through some stuff and kind of letting go of a lot of stuff, and seeing how that changes things. A few days ago I did a lot of stuff on my throat, and that really helped with like being able to express myself. I feel like I'm not as I feel like I know I'm stuttering through this, but I feel like I'm able to express myself a little bit better, and it feels really good to express myself in that way. And like, I'm just noticing like how like my entire throat and my jaw kind of feel a lot looser, a lot better, a lot more comfortable, and which is something that I was working on this week. So I didn't do a video on that one, but it basically I was kind of working on these muscle stains like this, and working my my jaw around, my head around, so that I could release all the muscles underneath my jaw down through here to about my collarbone, like all of those muscles. So that also helps with, expression is always part of being, you express things in anger, you express things in resentment, that kind of thing, or you're angry because you have to be quiet. So those things kind of go hand in hand. So I think I'm going to end the video with that note, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, you can check me out and more videos on Somato Enlightenment on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. We'll see you then.